The sweltering conditions of the Quint Motorplex in Perth play host to the 35th running of the Western Nationals. It's crunch time in the championship in the 5th round of the 05-06 season for both Top Doorslammer and Top Bike. For the Doorslammers, it's one of the tightest championships in recent memory. In a season packed with records, upsets and a few new cars, the cream has risen to the top in the shape of unassuming 5-second man John Zappia, pint-sized dynamo Steve Stanek and the 4-man of 06 Sandgroper Robin Judd. But it's not over until the final pass of the season, and some serious contenders are knocking at the door for a shot at some silverware come season's end. For the Top Bikes, the return of the White Knight, Jay Upton, has seen the standard lift yet again. And with his failure at the Summers in Sydney, the man in black, Brett Stevens, has taken over at the top of the table. With reigning champion Troy McLean breathing down their necks, the pressure is really on. So with competition eliminator adding to the spectacle, the 35th Western Nationals is sure to be an event to remember. Hello and welcome, folks, to the Quint Motorplex Kwinana Beach. The Top Doorslammer action is moments away. But before we do that, let's go into the pits and catch up with some of the stars.
It's a tough field. I haven't been doing it for too long, like too many years. A lot of the guys have, and I'm on the learning side of it. So I'm getting there slowly but surely, but it was really good fun. We ran nice and straight on Wednesday, had one good run in that, and it was a good test day, and I feel very confident. So, no, looking forward to it.
The last couple of days, not overly brilliant, mate. We come out here on Wednesday. We did what they call testing. We tried some things. They weren't overly successful. We ran moderate numbers, but numbers that won't get us in here tonight. So we'll go back to what we know, and hopefully we can get it all happening. 6 o'clock tonight will be a bit of a struggle, I think, for everyone. Everyone's going to have to be a little bit cautious, but come 8 and 10 o'clock tonight, I think the boys will be chucking everything they got at it.
Qualifying now, and the first pairing was Steve Stanek and newcomer Peter Hamilton. Both cars with relatively weak passes struggling to adjust to the hot conditions. Stanek number 1 with a 7.33. Robin Judd made his presence felt immediately against Peter Kapiris. Judd stormed down his home track with a 6.109 off the trailer. Another local, Grant O'Rourke, was next out with Ben Bray and his new Monaro making its West Coast debut. O'Rourke struck problems early, Ben Bray shaking the cobwebs out with a 6.257. Record holder and championship point leader John Zappia came out on a solo pass. A 6.13 ensured he wouldn't repeat his disappointing result at the Summers where he didn't make the show. Phillips and Judd stepped up first in qualifying too. Phillips making the most of the improved conditions, jumping to 3rd spot with a 6.19. Kapiris and Fabietti both came out looking for a spot in the field. Both cars stuck in. Fabulous better with a 6.345 and O'Rourke suffering the bump. Stanek and Ben Bray then took it up a notch. Both cars looking good. Stanek grabbed P1 with a 6.092. Bray moved into 4th with a solid 6.171. Zappia was out last against the boss. Stevens struck problems early. Zappia 6.13, an improvement of 6/1000th of a second. Qualifying 3 kicked off in exciting fashion. Brzezinski and Kapiris both moving from outside the field into 3rd and 5th respectively. Then Hamilton stole the limelight for all the wrong reasons. The local boy got messy early. This collision costing him any chance of making the field. Fabietti and Victor Bray stepped up after the cleanup, both looking to get into the field. Bray 6.6, not good enough. Fabulous kicking out the rods and coming alive at the 1,000 foot mark. Yet another face-off between Ben Bray and Brett Stevens. Stevens sneaking into the field and onto the bump spot with a 6.308. Rounding out proceedings was O'Rourke and Zappia. O'Rourke missing out on the field by 1/8,000th of a second. Zappia storming into P2 with a 6.098.
13 cars contest the Top Doorslammer at the Western Nationals at the Quint Motorplex Kwinana Beach, and your top qualifier Steve Stanek from Zappia and Judd. The big news is Victor Bray, for the 2nd time only in his illustrious career, has not made the field. Here is your ladder. Stanek taking on Stevens, Brzezinski taking on Peter Kapiris. Great to see him in the field. Zappia, Phillips, Judd and Bray.
The conditions are pretty bad again today, so round 1's going to be tough. We've tamed the car down. We get off the start line. we'll be looking good. So yeah, we'll take it one round at a time. Let's tackle first round and let's see where we go from there. 09 should be good enough, hopefully, to win the meeting. I've been pretty sharp on the lights this year, so hoping to take some of that form with me through eliminations today. We can't rely on it. The car has to perform, and we'll make sure it does.
Well, after another all-night rebuild, put the 5-second engine back in. We just want to win this race and then concentrate on the second round and then the third round, hopefully. It's a compromise between what's safe and what's going to be fast enough. Gary Phillips can go pretty fast, and we just hope the Renko Monaro can go out there and stay car lengths ahead.
Well, yesterday, Stewie, what we did was we basically set it up from what we had at Sydney. We did pretty well in Sydney, and we continued it on with the first run yesterday. The last two runs last night weren't too good. The track changed a little bit on us that we weren't expecting. With the heat on the track, this car seems to run fairly well, but then when it starts to cool off a bit, sometimes we get a little lost.
Like last night, we virtually did an engine change before we went out that last qualifier, and the boys in about an hour and 10 minutes turned the whole car around and got me down there to do a 6-1, so I'm wrapped, and they're excellent blokes.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're from Melbourne, mate. It doesn't get this hot in Melbourne, but yeah, it'd be interesting, the track conditions. It's so hot out there, but we reckon we'll be right. Usually the 6 o'clock one here, you've got to go a bit easy, but the 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, it will be awesome. The track will be cold, it'll be sticky, it'll be fantastic.
We know we can get the car down there, but like Robin Judd's running awfully fast and consistent, like 611, 610. Like he done, out of 3 passes, did 2 pretty fast runs, and he did one of them in the heat of the day where I didn't go so well in the heat of the day. So it's sort of, you know, we changed a lot now, so we'll see how we go.
Well, you know, we're just going to go out there and try and keep consistent. The first 2 qualifiers, we blew the tyres off the thing. We're not going to try and overstep it, except we've got Stanek first round, so we need to run really, you know, reasonably quick, and hopefully we can cut a light on him. But we're just going to sneak up on a little bit more and see how it goes.
Qualifying positions are going to mean a lot for this weekend, so 7 ain't really that bad when you consider that, you know, it was only 1 car off being an all-team bump, you know, so and 2 or 3 of the cars can run in the 0. So I mean, no, it's tough out there now. You can't afford to go out soft now. I mean, you know, everyone's had the same amount of tries at the track, so you go out there and go soft first round. Well, the only soft you'll be going home.
And so we're set at the awesome Quit Motorplex, Kwinana Beach now, getting set as we come into this Doorslammer competition. And Dean Neal, the points, sees John Zapier still on top.
Yeah, John Zapier, the West Aussie here before his adoring fans at the Quit Motorplex. As you see, Peter Kapiris and Deno Brzeski complete their burnout. Steve Stanek, Robin Judd, Philip Stevens, Ben and Victor Bray, Deno Brzeski and Grant O'Rourke. They're in the top half of the points chase. Big drama at this event, of course, Wade. Victor Bray, for the 2nd time in his illustrious career, has not made the top Doorslammer field here at the Western Nationals.
Yes, and Peter Kapiris comes in for the first time this year and breaks into the qualifying field with new crew chief Greg Gower on board. A good result for him. Deno Brzeski here in the X-Speed lane. Good crowd in the house. The 35th running of the Western Nationals.
Of course, for many years, Wade, this event was held at the famous or infamous Ravenswood Raceway in the far south of Perth, out near Mandurah Way. Of course, record numbers, almost 300 competitors this weekend. Peter Kapiris actually had a chat to Peter Pike and Ray Treasure and said, guys, on the race day, we want to do some grudge runs. They didn't expect to make the field, so to run a teen around a 6-second pass is a huge performance for the Batmobile.
39 degrees here this weekend at the Motorplex. That's extremely hot. They're talking almost 60-degree track temperature. A lot of guys struggling to get a hold of the surface. Here we go, round 1 of eliminations at the Western Nationals. Quit Motorplex, Kwinana Beach. Brzeski closest to camera. One of my favourite cars, the Batmobile in the far lane.
Fantastic stuff. Deno Brzeski, of course, proudly supported by the Eastern Creek Tavern. I know Nathan and the crew will be watching this with interest on today's program as we see the 2 cars bringing the revs up. Kapiris is no slouch now. Can he keep some consistency after running a tough run? Gee, they're taking their time. They're away now.
The Batmobile away smartly. Brzeski in trouble. He enters the AC Delco lane, and that is not his to share.
Despite that intensity, Wade, a 6.28, 226 miles an hour, 360 kilometres an hour. So the Studebaker, Peter Kapiris, starting to step up to the plate. Looking on the replay here, big turn to the left.
Yeah, Kapiris not even aware of what happened with Brzeski. He just got on with the job. The car tracked fairly nicely. Stayed well and truly on the good groove. Brzeski's car just snapped left, didn't it? And a good drive job to gather it back up too.
I know he's getting another car from Murray Anderson, of course. I'm talking about Dino Brzeski, but I'm sure he doesn't want to hop that one into the trash heap just yet. Here is a car that's captured a lot of attention over here in Western Australia, in fact, right around the country. The Castrol Edge Monaro, of course, recent announcement. Willowbank Raceway with the Winter Nationals will be presented by Castrol Edge. That's great news for the sport. But Ben Bray, he's got his hands full with this car, Wade. Obviously, new suspension, new componentry, different seating position even in the car for Ben compared to his 57 Chev. So they're still chasing a good tune-up for this car.
But Robin Judd, in stark contrast, how about this? 6-1, 6-1, 6-1, 6-0, 6-0. Judd is on top of his game and the Moonshine Bandit, and the Studi is going to give this Monaro a seriously hard time.
Certainly we saw recently at the Western Sydney International Dragway, Robin Judd has been in sensational form. They have got a consistency package, and that's a hard thing to do in these awesome door slammers. You're talking 3,000 horsepower, methanol fuel. Look at the methanol billowing out of the Moonshine Bandit. Robin Judd, of course, a local hero as well. Great crowd, as Wade's touched on here at the Quit Motorplex for the Western Nationals. The toughest, the fastest, the quickest door slammer field in Australian Championship drag racing history right here.
Bray in the X-Speed lane, closest to camera. Judd, the William Buck Chartered Accountant Studi, gaining revs in the AC Delco lane. Both guys taking a long time to get into deep stage.
Yeah, Ben Bray loves to play games at the tree. He knows Judd is going to be a tough taskmaster. Who got the reaction advantage? It is going to be Judd. Again, almost a carbon copy of what happened to Brzeski with Ben Bray. Unbelievable. Judd, I reckon, was phased a little bit. He can go a lot quicker than that. 6.49. You can see the miles per hour, Wade. He had the speed, but obviously had to take it a little easy over the early stages run. Look at this from Bray.
Now, Bray's car again tracks nicely till about third track, and then, whoa, good drive job from Ben as well. Talk about the Castrol Edge. He was over the edge.
He was on the edge, for sure, and over it as he touched on, but I just want to have a look at another replay. We're going to have a look at it here. I reckon he got some tyre shake there. Yep, you can see the back end of the car. Gets off the groove, and man, sparks are flying. The brand new Castrol Edge Monaro having a wild run. Now, this opens up the door for this man who's serious about door slammers, serious about his drag racing. Gary Phillips in the Lucas Oil Products Studebaker.
Yes, as always, a tough competitor, but how about this? The undisputed king of Western Australian top door slammer, the Zapp's Rat, has been known for so many years. The Renko sponsorship, John Zappia on top of the world right now, leading the points, and still with that awesome ET at the Summer Nats at Western Sydney. Not the Summer Nats, he didn't make the show there, did he?
No, he had mechanical trouble, but you can see the big numbers on the big Whipple supercharger injector. Had 5.967 for the Renko Transport Equipment Rentals Monaro. Look like that car's not behaving well. In the meantime, Gary Phillips in the X-Speed lane. He's ready to have a really tough run here at the Quit Motorplex at Kwinana Beach.
Great crowd in the house for the 35th Western Nationals. Almost 40 degrees. That's in the stands. It's almost 60 right where Debbie Phillips is standing at the moment.
Of course, the good thing about the qualifying format for the Western Nationals, all the supercharged and heavy-hitting drag racing brackets get to run in the late afternoon and early evening ways. So the good news is for these competitors, the conditions will improve. Gary Phillips bringing the revs up, looking like John Zappia is starting to bring them up pretty tough now. He's been a little tentative by his own standards.
Oh, look at the raw fuel just hosing out of the side of the Rat. Phillips will run this through the Lucas Studi, no problem at all. A 6.23 with an 8, almost 369 kilometres an hour, and Zapp with some major issues.
Of course, John Zappia coming into this round right up at the pointy end in the Top Door Slammer Championship chase. That is going to be a setback because remember, Wade, there are 50% bonus points up to grabs, or up for grabs, should I say, for making the long trip over to Western Australia for this round of the Australian Top Door Slammer Championship.
Here is the boss, the Jack Daniels E-Bank trade entry, coming up alongside Steve Stanek in the AC Delco lane in the Lucky Baleri. Beautifully turned out Camaro. And up back's the Jack Daniels entry. Now Brett Stevens with plenty to prove here for the Western Nationals.
Steve Stanek has just crept up quietly, hasn't he? Of course, he has been very consistent all season. Currently sits second in the championship with John Zappia's first round elimination here at the Western Nationals. That'll create a real opportunity for Stanek.
Well, Stanek's a lot like John Zappia, Dino, in that there's some larger-than-life characters in this game. We're looking at one right now. The Brays, the Stevens, all those, the Phillips, they're big characters. Stanek and Zappia, both quiet little blokes, just go about the deal.
Yeah, in fact, talking to a lot of people, they are quite amazed at, well, the stature of Steve Stanek. Very small guy, jockey size in stature. In fact, he drives trucks for a living. Let's say even on the roads, it's quite funny seeing Stanek hop out of the truck. This small, diminutive man, but he can certainly drive these awesome door slammers. Has been very consistent, has had a terrific weekend so far. And as we said, he can make some serious points. Haulage up on John Zappia, who leads it at the moment.
Car Plus sponsorship on board. He's in the AC Delco lane up against Stevens. I bet he still gets a semi off the lights quicker than most family cars. Here we go, Stevens v Stanek. They're both out of the hole quickly. I think Stanek's got him.
Yeah, Brett Stevens had the whole shot advantage at the start line, but he hasn't got the win. A 6.20, 240. That is about the baseline where you need to be in Doorslammer these days. Brett Stevens obviously just missed the setup a little bit. Maybe the prevailing track conditions. Looking at the run, maybe just a hint of tyre shake for Stevens of the early sectors of that run. But Steve Stanek, he's fast. That's the first round of top Doorslammer here at the Western Nationals.
Let's take a look at top bike qualifying now. And it was an all Jack Daniels affair. McLean outdoing the boss with a 7.031. Silvestro was making his WA debut against local Kim Stevens, but it was a pass to forget. Silvestro limping home with an 8.4. Stevens into P2 with a 7.172. Jay Upton was back home and looking to atone for his Summer Nationals debacle, and he did it in style, romping across the line with a 6.67 and P1. Silvestro and McLean were out first in Q2, neither setting the world alight. Silvestro with a better time, but not good enough to improve on 6th. But qualifying 2 belonged to homecoming king Jay Upton. The White Knight recording a stunning 6.382 at a record speed of 222 miles per hour. The boss came out for a solo and grabbed second spot with a solid 6.975. Stevens was first out in Q3 and with conditions improving locked in number 2 with a 6.792. Ashelford's struggles continued whilst McLean found the tune-up with a smooth 7.053.
Western Nationals, let's have a look at the top bike qualifying order for you. Jay Upton, the White Knight in the number 1 spot with a 6.38. Brett Stevens, the leader in the championship. Those two going head-to-head in a very tough field. Let's have a look at the ladder for you. Jay Upton taking on Ian Ashelford. Mark Ashelford against Kim Stevens. Brett Stevens up against Rodney Silvestro. And McLean and Mark Drew make out the field.
What you saw was the first pass was a conservative, let's avoid the disaster we had in Sydney. We desperately needed to be sure we were in the field. In the first pass, it tore a tyre to shreds, which is a problem that's been associated with this racetrack for us. So in the second one, we actually went out to try and overcome the problem of tearing tyres up, and the only way to do that is to attack it. We actually took some wing off, we put some more taller gearing on, some more fuel, some more clutch, more power, more of everything, and the result was obviously we went 630 something and 222, I think.
Take a look at your points right now for top bike. Brett Stevens a narrow leader by 17 points over Jay Upton. McLean in third, Grant, Stevens, Bonwick and Parker. But Jay Upton didn't come out in the third session. We asked him earlier, why was that the case?
We actually will sit out the last round of qualifying based on the fact that this race has bonus points and you can't afford to do badly, especially after a bad day out in Sydney. So we're concentrating on the race here today.
So there is Jay Upton, the fastest man on the planet when it comes to these bikes at times, 222 miles an hour.
Oh, it's the elapsed time and the incredible mile per hour. This Gates, Belts and Hoses, Sprintex Superchargers machine produces. It is honestly a top fuel beast in a motorcycle configuration. It's even got the parachute to deploy at the finish line. An awesome, awesome machine.
Should be registered on a NASA radar. Here we go, Upton in front of his home crowd, looking to do something special. There'll be no idea of just running this thing down the quarter mile. It's what can we do in front of the hometown fans.
Nice aggressive at the tree, of course, had a terrible run at the Summer Nationals. An early pop of the shoots, but still a 665 at 185 or just a tick under. Yep, on a bike, 300 kilometres an hour. But I think that was all part of a work plan there for Jay Upton. Popped the shoots early and, well, he'll be back later on in Top Bike Eliminator.
Going to be a good battle between he and Stevens and McLean, and of course the Jack Daniels team, Top Bike, is just proceeding to get tougher and tougher and tougher. The AC Delco lane very busy here today. Likewise, this man right here, Troy McLean, coming up in the X-Speed lane. This guy is always a major threat and will knock off the boss given a moment's notice.
And a local West Aussie in the AC Delco lane, of course, Wade, we'd be familiar with that man. Mark Drew, for many years racing sidecars in Speedway. Well, he loves living life full throttle, that's for sure, on one of these awesome machines.
Former Australian sidecar champion, one of the best, that's for sure. Up against one of the hardest runners in the game, the Jack Daniels Racing entry of McLean. So Mark Drew, very much with his hands full here, Dino, at the Western National.
Two placid individuals, it's fair to say. Not. These guys love to race and race hard and very, very quickly. They're away now. Let's have a look at the reaction times. Very important. Mark Drew, certainly competitive.
Whoa, he's got him.
This is going to be an upset.
Drew has taken care of McLean. 718 with a 6 for Drew. 182 miles an hour. He puts the Jack Daniels bike on the trailer.
That is a huge upset. One of the biggest moments in Top Bike competition this summer. The local chant, the crowd are delighted. I've got to say, McLean had the run over the early sectors, and then Mark Drew just came on strong. Must be just a little bit of trouble at the top end mechanically, because McLean is usually just so quick, isn't he? So
absolutely. Ashleford now, the Attitude Racing bike. These guys are fantastic. The Attitude boys, they put an enormous investment into the sport up against Kim Stevens. Now, Kim Stevens, a very much well-travelled part of the Brett Stevens racing operation on a national scene.
Certainly, we saw him very, very strong at the Western Sydney International Dragway. Of course, this is his backyard now. And two West Australian competitors. The thing that's great about Top Bike and, of course, all the motorcycle categories in drag racing, Wade, is you get to see these guys at work on these machines at speeds, as we've touched on, well in excess of 300 kilometres an hour. This is a vital round of the Australian Top Bike Championship as well. Two tough customers, Ashleford up head-to-head against Kim Stevens. Stevens with the whole shot advantage. He's trying to keep the thing away from the centre line and succeeds just with a 773 at 182.
It's like wrestling a killer whale at 300 kilometres an hour, trying to keep the thing pointing in the right direction. Trouble for Ashleford, unfortunately, the Attitude Racing bike in some dramas. The immaculate entry of Kim Stevens, leg trailing it. Look how hard he's hanging off the bike here to keep it away from the centre. That's big.
I think the best description I've ever heard was yours when you said these guys are like straddling an Exocet missile. Boys. In fact, they were spooning an Exocet missile.
They're just incredible. Look at the attitude of the bikes. I say that using the word attitude towards the Ashleford team. And here come the piercing blue eyes. That is Brett Stevens as we push back this weapon. Now, Brett Stevens running two classes here this weekend in 40-degree heat. I wonder what kind of physical toll that could have on your body. We asked Brett the same question.
And with this heat, it really knocks me around going from the bike to the car and vice versa, you know, getting out of a set of leathers into a driving suit. By the end of the day, I lose about 6 or 8 kilos in sweat, and got to make sure I keep plenty of fluids up to keep it happening. And unfortunately, last night we didn't get a break, you know, it stayed hot till about midnight, and I think tonight's going to be the same.
Well, he is the Iron Man of Australian Championship drag racing at the moment, the boss in the Jack Daniels Nitro Harley-Davidson. That's right, take a Harley-Davidson and put nitro methane fuel in it. Liquid explosive up against Ronnie Silvestro in the Gulf Western Oils machine. Silvestro's got trouble. Stevens had to be a little cautious at about 330 feet, Wade, but he still gets there very nicely at the end of the day with the win with a 701 at 176.
Still a long way from the 6'3" that Jay Upton currently owns, and Brett Stevens will know that. He loses 6 kilo a weekend. Imagine what he loses in Jack Daniels. Quite amazing. Stevens puts away Silvestro and heads to the semis. Top Bike here at the Western Nationals, the Quint Motorplex, Banana Beach.
Let's check out the motorplex.com.au Top Bike Ladder. Jay Upton's going to take on Kim Stevens. That's a big matchup. Brett Stevens taking on Troy McLean in the other semi-final. Stick around after the break. We return to one of the big events on the Australian Championship drag racing calendar, the Western Nationals.
Well, time now for the semi-finals. Judd up against Phillips. Dino, what's amazing about the Western Nationals right here at the Quint Motorplex is Victor Bray didn't make the show. Brett Stevens got bowled out for the show, and so did Ben Bray. We are seeing some major king hits going on.
In fact, even looking at the West Coast Choppers entry of Grant O'Rourke, Wade, I mean, he missed the field in the final pass in qualifying. He was the last car to go down the track here at the Quint Motorplex, missed it by 8/1000ths of a second. That is how tough it's been. In fact, every car in this field went teens or quicker, save for the number 8 spot in this field, which was Brett Stevens, who's obviously now been eliminated. I've got to say the weather conditions have improved a bunch, and you can see that with the crowd. They've really packed in now. The sun is set, and they're not the only ones that are going to be happy about the conditions, Wade. These tough machines, these awesome top door slammers ready to rip down here at Kwinana are going to appreciate the conditions as well.
Couple of Studies, they're very swoopy looking cars, aren't they? The one in the X-Speed lane closest to us, I bet that racing program financially is run so tight. With William Buck Chartered Accountants behind it, you know they'd find every penny.
No doubt about it. Look at this, one of the most spectacular sights in motorsport. Rev starting to build. Gary Phillips has had a tentative season by his huge standards, both in top alcohol and Doorslammer. It's time to make some serious, well, name-taking right here, because Robin Judd has been awesome, taking his time to come into stage. A lot of staging games so far today here at the Western Nationals. In top Doorslammer, they're away. Oh, both cars had their hands full at the early part of the run. Phillips had the whole field, but Judd has the speed.
Drove around the outside of him, a 617 with a 6, 237.4 miles an hour. He puts the Lucas Leadfoot away. Judd is having a hell of a year.
Look at this. This is a unbelievable top Doorslammer drag race. A 6-1 to a 6-2. It doesn't get any better than that. Both of them having to drive those cars on the groove, really manhandle them, and Judd at the top end. Man, that car has got some engine.
First time we're into the 6-1s in competition per se. Qualifying certainly different. Kapiris, an enormous burnout. This will test the backup girl. She's got some miles to travel now. Stanek in the AC Delco lane. But look at the crowd, Dino. We know it. Western Australians love their motorsport, and they love getting out on a beautiful, balmy Perth evening to racing like this.
Yeah, I've got to say too, to the organisational team at the Quint Motorplex, awesome job with the track conditions. When you have the sort of heat and temperatures that this track has had, not just today, but for the entire Western Nationals event, to see the numbers, to see the consistency, to see the spectacle that is top Doorslammer like it has been so far tonight and this afternoon. Credit to all them, and credit to the drivers too. This is a huge matchup. Steve Stanek, he will be a little apprehensive because Peter Kapiris has certainly found some form this weekend.
Yes, holy debut, Batman. That guy's come in on his first run and jumped straight into the semis and up against a tough customer. The lock-up with Lockwood, Lucky Valeri Racing, Car Plus Camaro.
Yeah, beautifully turned out car, this one. Of course, reside in Sydney and New South Wales. Out there near Narrabeen Way as they go away now. Look at the reaction times and trouble for Kapiris, but it's been a very productive weekend for him regardless. But Steve Stanek, look at that. 618, 234 miles an hour. That's exciting. There's more ET potential in this unbelievable Camaro.
Over 3/4 of a second, the victory. There's the problem right there for Kapiris, unfortunately. Wasn't a huge amount in it. Was good reaction time for both of them, but Stanek just storms home, and he's headed towards the finals for top Doorslammer here at the Western Nationals. The Quint Motorplex, Kwinana Beach. It's going to be an awesome final.
Well, Stewie, the car's pulled up really well after that run against Gary Phillips. Gary's a great competitor, and it was good to knock him off.
Track got a bit loose that time. The car was skating around a bit, but I think we'll just keep the same what was in it. It was pretty much what it had in there last night, but I think it's just because it moved around a bit, which slowed it down a bit. You can't worry about who's in the other lane. They're all tough. You just can't go treating anyone different. You just got to make sure you're on your game and you've got the best car presented.
www.motorplex.com.au for all the results and action of the Western Nationals. Let's look at the final of top Doorslammer. It is Steve Stanek taking on Robin Judd in a huge matchup.
Semi-final time here at the Quint Motorplex, Kwinana Beach for top bike as the Stevens team polishing, shining and preparing this incredible lightning bolt that is somehow strapped between his legs. Kim Stevens, this guy knows a lot of miles.
Certainly does. Of course, the great thing about drag racing and at the Quint Motorplex, Wade, you can go down to the pits and see these machines up close and personal. Let me assure you, to hear the J. Upton Triumph or to hear that awesome Harley Davidson belonging to Kim Stevens, fire up in the pits and blat the throttle, it will absolutely pound your body. These machines are simply awesome. Of course, Jay Upton, he's the national record holder. He is awesome on a top bike entry.
And here's something sobering. He's 50 years old. That
Today.
is incredible.
Today.
50 years of age, the white knight of Australian top bike racing. He's no spring chicken, but let me tell you, he has got a set. He knows how to go hard. Let's look, can he break that 222 mile per hour run? Stevens in the X-Speed lane, Upton in the AC Delco.
Yeah, Jay Upton, we saw the early pop of the chutes in the first round. I don't think we'll be seeing that again in the Gates Belts and Hoses Sprintex machine. Look how he's literally almost inside that machine here. Bit of a staging game here. Kim Stevens playing a bit of a game. Look at the nitro flames coming out of the back of the White Knight as he hurls it down the quarter mile here at Kwinana. Let's have a look at the elapsed time. 6.40. That's more like we expect from Jay Upton. Wade, look at that. Almost 350 kilometres an hour on a motorcycle.
Just incredible. He came off the line like a rocket. That was all Stevens basically saw of him. And away he goes in that AC Delco lane, bringing the crowd to its feet. The West Aussie combination, well, there was two of them, of course, in the battle. But Upton going forward to the final. Ooh, sobering sight for anyone who expects to get into the final with him. And here's another West Aussie, Mark Drew, the Wanneroo Vertical Blinds Wildcard Rush entry.
Yeah, great to see Mark Drew doing a terrific job this weekend up against the boss, Brett Stevens. He's the lone interstate interloper, I guess, at the semi-final stage of Top Bike. So it's been a very productive weekend for the local West Aussie Chargers, a full field of these awesome machines. Of course, these guys are on the ragged edge, no doubt about it. You talk to Brett Stevens, it's very important to be in harmony with a bike. I don't know how you get in harmony with a bike that runs in excess of 200 miles an hour, but he says if you're not switched on, this thing will send you off quicker than you can blink. And thank you, I do not want to go off a bike at 350 kilometres an hour. Thanks.
It's like getting in harmony with a Sherman tank, Dino. But what's amazing about this now is Drew already has taken care of one of the Jack Daniels team. He now has to knock back a double of Jack's. Is he going to be able to do it and take care of Brett Stevens? Wouldn't it bring the house down here in WA to have two Perth guys in the final?
It'd be massive. Of course, terrific crowd here at the Quid Motorplex. Very good track conditions, as we've touched on, particularly considering the heat, the rubber, the traction compound. Everything has stood up fantastically well. We've seen awesome elapsed times. Looks like Drew's got some troubles. That's bad luck. And, of course, Stevens had lane choice anyway on the virtue of a fast elapsed time early on. Look at that. There's a bit of shake and roll there at the halfway mark of the run, but he gets it done at a lazy, by his standards anyway, for the boss in the Jack Daniels Harley 7.00.
Yeah, Stevens has got some work to do. He's got Upton to face in the final, and you're seeing Upton peeling off 6.3s and 6.4s at will. So Brett using this for a bit of R&D. The West Aussie crowd, they've got something to cheer about, but the boss looking to reign on the Sandgrover party here at the Western Nationals.
And I think we really made a tune-up mistake in the semi. We're trying to draw a balance between going fast enough to win the race and not going slow enough to tear the tyres apart. We just made a little slip up with the air. It's a lot more humid tonight than it was last night. And we didn't go quite aggressive enough for the second round, and the bike went a little slower. We planned to go 6.30 and you notice it only went 6.40 and only 2.13. And that's just enough to let the tyre get a hold of the racetrack, and it just tears them to pieces.
We've been chasing this thing all weekend, really. I've had these bikes really consistent and not dropping cylinders, but I think it's just the quality of air, because we've had some really hot days over here in Perth, as you know, and with nitro they just don't like it, sort of. So we're now changing ignitions, we've changed fuel systems, we're chasing everything we can, and we just hope that we'll hit it and see what happens.
What a matchup in the final of Top Bike. We've got the two contenders for the championship, Jay Upton and the boss, Brett Stevens, head-to-head in the final.
Competition Eliminator here at the Quid Motorplex Kwinana Beach, this awesome facility known as the Commotion by the Ocean. And just over there, about 100 feet away, is one of the most awesome speedway venues in the world as well.
Yeah, wide open, hammer down, just like this racetrack. But Competition Eliminator, great to see a fully fledged Rocket All-Stars round of Competition Eliminator here at the Quid Motorplex. And two very tough customers, Peter Nowak and Ian Johns. Of course, Peter Nowak in the Double C Dragster Automatic, meaning he is running an automatic transmission combination Ian Johns in the A-altered production combination over in the AC Delco lane. Of course, these guys, Wade, run to what they call class indexes. They can run under that, but in the next round,
It'll hurt you later.
It is reset by half the amount. It's quite desirable to protect those indexes. That gives you an advantage, of course. The first car to the finish line wins. It's just a handicapping start process, as we've described with this indexing system they use in Group 2. Of course, great to see Rocket and Rocket Industries support grassroots sportsman drag racing with the All-Star Series. Of course, that is around this weekend at the Western Nationals, and as a result, Wade, you see almost 300 teams here at the Quid Motorplex.
And let me tell you, Rocket could supply parts to all those teams. The inventory they have in Huntingwood is unbelievable. That's bursting out of the unit. Here we go, getting set for a start. So it's Sedan against Dragster. The Sedan away nicely.
But a better reaction time for the Double C Dragster. Nowak is going to get there and put it out the back door fairly hard too, with a 7.04 on a 7.32 index. So Wade, his index will be something like a 7.15, 7.18 in the final. So it will be reset, but a great run for Nowak. He's through to the final of Competition Eliminator.
Yeah, you've got to have two bites at it, really. You've got to get the win, and then you've got to make sure you're not chasing yourself too hard in the next run. So it's a very tough call. The Rocket All-Star Series very well supported here. Oh, you've just got to love your modifieds.
No doubt about it. In fact, this is the very impressive Michael Tukeen C-Altered Automatic. Of course, Craig Geddes from Victoria has recently moved on to other drag racing exploits. He's a current Australian champion in Competition Eliminator.
But his car was well proven, wasn't it?
Yeah, identical configuration, basically. C-altered, meaning it is carburetted. There's no mechanical assistance in this car, but I'll tell you, the car to keep it on is this double A funny car of Stuart Rowland. This guy is what I'd call an occasional drag racer, Wade. He has set and reset national records left, right and centre. Got Veeam supporting him this weekend. And of course, I'm interested to see if he can continue his awesome run so far this weekend. Can he set a new national record? He has been awesome so far.
The flow-tested cylinder heads entry. And this is going to be a good matchup heading towards the final. So either way, he's got a tough prospect with Nowak waiting in the final. Whoever gets through has got some work to do. Here at the Quid Motorplex, Kwinana Beach, the Ballistic Race Cars entry. Appropriately named.
Absolutely. Stuart Rowland has got 5.9 seconds on this car. There's no problem there. He won't want to go that if he can help it this particular matchup. As you said, mate, he's got to take on a very tough customer in Peter Nowak in the final. So he'll try and protect it, but he may have to show his head. It depends on how well Michael Tukeen goes in that C-altered automatic entry. Let's have a look at the indexes here. A 8.18, so Tukeen will lead first in the altered. Red lights it. So you watch, maybe an exciting hit, yes, but Stuart Rowland will back this thing off, protect the index. Just reminding you what that is, a 6.31, runs a 6.46. There's a guy that understands his race car, though.
Yeah, and you would think it's more than just an educated guess, and that's exactly what it is. They know exactly what they can get out of their cars. A big cherry on the tree, unfortunately, for Tukeen, and that means that Rowland goes forward into the final up against Nowak. Competition Eliminator here at Kwinana Beach, the Quid Motorplex, WA.
Finals time, a competition eliminator here at the Quid Motorplex, Kwinana Beach. Remember to check out their website. You see it on screen, www.motorplex.com.au. This is a huge matchup, and everyone is absolutely pumped for this one, Wade. Peter Nowak in the Double C Dragster automatic machine up against Stuart Rowland in the Double A funny car. And word is he is going to go hard here, try and chase a national record. Of course, you have to claim all records, so if he does, the index will be reset for the class at the next round of competition eliminated as part of the Rocket All-Star Series.
Do you think Rowland was confused at which colour paint he wanted to go with the car? Because there's just about every colour on the rainbow on that thing. It looks magnificent. Great crowd here, very hot conditions. We discussed it earlier. In the heat of the day, it was around 40 degrees, which is still pumping, and closer to 60 degrees on the racetrack. So air density very different here this weekend to what the guys are used to, so it's a bit of a learning curve for a lot of these guys.
And I know Peter Pike, of course, the sales manager at the Motorplex, will be proud of me saying this fact, but I think there's some of the most awesome competition cars you'll see anywhere in the country in Western Australia. Of course, we've talked about Stuart Rowland, the AA funny car. Wayne Keys in the AA Ultra production machine. Of course, he was eliminated early, but that car is essentially a Doorslammer. Running Group 2, of course, there's a lot
Mark
of other...
Sheehan, John McSweeney. Man, there's a lot of great competitors.
Absolutely.
Set for deep stage here, Dano, in the final of Competition Eliminator. Nowak and Rowlands. Would you lean either way to see who's going to win this?
Yes, very, very tough matchup. Who's going to win it? Good reaction from the Dragstar, but Rowland, he's going to take the win, I'd say. Look at the elapsed time performance, and he set a new national record. He has 591, 238 miles an hour. He didn't have to do that, Wade, but he's done it anyway.
Well, Nowak running it through with a 6.9, but it was goodnight nurse at half track, wasn't it? Because this car just took off. Look at Rowland here. Half track, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. What a sweet victory for him in the Western Nationals.
We're up to the final stage now, final battle for top bike here at the Western Nationals at the Quint Motorplex, Quinana Beach. Brad the Boss Stevens, second in the points. Jay Upton currently leads it. This is a huge matchup. And I guess the big question for Brett Stevens is, how can he beat this man, the White Knight?
Well, I've got to be real quick on the lights, because he's obviously got it over as far as ET-wise and speed, you know. So if I can get a tenth or so on the lights on him, well, that gives me a head start, and he's got to catch me, which makes it hard. And hopefully that maybe he's put a little bit too much in it. The thing turns the tyres and he can't ride it. Who knows? You know, it's just hit and miss. But we're going to give it the best shot. But if this Harley comes around, like he'd want to be going to catch me.
Well, if anything can happen in drag racing, certainly at championship level, we've seen that so many times. And whilst Upton is certainly a greased bolt of lightning, that triumph has given him dramas at times.
Yeah, we saw that in the last round of the Top Bike Championship. This is his backyard. But as Brett Stevens touched on, Wade, if you can get away aggressively at the tree in terms of reaction time, it takes a lot to make it up. Part one of the job is done for Stevens. He had a better reaction time, but Jay Upton's got the speed. Look at that.
6.4 with a pair of ones. How about this man? 347.8 kilometres an hour. And Jay Upton brings down the house in Perth, Western Australia.
Yes, and with this run, Jay Upton now recaptures the championship lead over the early sectors. Brett Stevens was right there, just illustrating my point, Wade. If you get a better reaction, it takes a lot of ET to make up for that differential. That's why you see it stocking in other brackets like Pro Stock. Really busy on that machine. Brett Stevens put it all on the line, but it's Jay Upton's Western Nationals.
It's been a tough weekend, Stewie. The same tyre problem. We had changed 3 tyres over the weekend. But yes, we're back in front in the championship. We backed up our national record today. There's 3 more races to go, and we're out in front. Yeah, we've been drawing a balance today between going a reasonable speed to win the race and not tearing up the tyres. So really that was about the right speed, and we're really happy with the consistency. We've been back to back 38, 39, 40, and 41, I think. So it's like bracket racing. We're pretty happy with that.
What an awesome weekend for the Top Bike Brigade here at the Quint Motorplex for the Western Nationals. Jay Upton, the White Knight, takes the points lead once again over the boss, Brett Stevens. Troy McLean in the mix as well. It's the final matchup. Top Doorslammer here at the Western Nationals, and we've got 2 huge competitors, and these 2, Wade, it's fair to say, are making serious claims for the championship this year.
It's so good to see this, Dino. The awesome Lucky Boleri Camaro up against the William Buck Chartered Accountants Moonshine Bandit Studebaker. Stanek v Judd, and don't tell me that Judd won't rip the roof off this place if he gets the final with the hometown crowd.
Several thousand West Aussies, I think, might just give him a hand with that. Of course, he's backing up now in that AC Delco lane. Of course, nearest to us in the X-Speed lane, or nearest to camera anyway, is Steve Stanek. And it is academic now, Wade. Regardless of this result, he has now taken a lead in the Top Doorslammer Championship, which is a huge result. There's some big shows coming up in what has been an awesome year for Top Doorslammer right around the country.
And it's only early days, as you said. Now, Stanek's consistency is what will win him this championship if he can hold on. But, man, John Zappia, it started off in sensational fashion, and he's backed up in 2 shows consecutively now. That's cost him the lead.
Just shows, though, the sort of awesome start he had, of course, at the AC Delco East Coast Nationals. Set that record-setting run. Not only was it record ETs, but he was consistent. He could almost dial in on a 6.0 second pass. But Robert Judd, he's been into that territory now, hasn't he, Wade? He has been running 6.0s with regularity. I wouldn't say monotonous, because it's never monotonous in one of these awesome race cars. Top Doorslammer.
It's often been said that Juddy looks a bit like a genie. Well, he'll be polishing that lamp at the moment, trying to get the big win at the Western Nationals. Can he let it out of the bottle now?
We've had to find out. We're down to 2 cars. We've had a huge Doorslammer field. Who's got the whole shot? Definitely Static. A great start over the early sectors, and it's going to be enough. What a performance. Look at that time for Static, 6:27. He has got quicker, but it was enough. 236, in fact, identical miles per hour. Robert Judd had a lot of trouble over the early phase of this run in the Moonshine Banner Studebaker Wade, as we see on screen.
He got it loose here, and he got it loose here, but he almost pulled it back in. He got a very good drive job the last half of this race, but, well, Static just never gets off the good line. You're going to have to do something extra special to take him out. A great result for Lucky Maliri Racing and Static here. He was loose too.
It certainly was over the early phase of that run, but there you have it, Top Doorslammer. Huge crowd here at the Quint Motorplex, and Steve Static and the crew are delighted. They win Top Doorslammer.
Third final in a row that we've been over here in Perth, and now we've got a win to show for it. So we're in the points lead at the moment, so now things couldn't be better. Thanks to Car Plus, a local parts shop up in the Northern Beaches. Couldn't have done it without them. Lucky does a lot for the car. It's very much a privately funded operation, so a credit to him, and thanks.
With 50% bonus points up for grabs at this round of the Australian Top Doorslammer Championship at the Quint Motorplex for the Western Nationals, Steve Static takes the points lead over John Zapier, Robin Judd, Gary Phillips and Brett Stevens. With a couple of rounds remaining for the Doorslammers, it is going to be an awesome finish to the season. You want to head up to Willowbank, particularly for the incredible Winter Nationals.